We are back here at the shop bench, and this is going to be a quick little video on some cosmetic upgrades to the DM&E 6361. This is the engine that was repatriated to me here from a buddy in Australia. And you saw me last time, in the last episode, I put Soundtraxx Tsunami and a current keeper in this locomotive. And now we're going to put a few detail parts on it to make it look like specifically a ex-Milwaukee DM&E engine that it really is.
Welcome back to Black Hills and Eastern Railroad, bringing back the Dakota, Minnesota and Eastern Railroad
and Burlington Northern Railroad in South Dakota.
And I should mention on this Kato model, there are drill points that are molded into the factory tooling here, here, and here, and then on the dynamic brake blister, here and here, and here and here, and this points. And then there are also locate points outside the radiator inlet on both sides. And what we're looking for here is just slow, even, easy pressure over the drill point. We are not looking to break this drill bit at all because these things are, number one, expensive, and I have to go get more if I break these. We're just letting the drill bit do its own cutting under the weight of the pin vise itself. We're not pushing at all. Because if we do push, we'll break the drill bit. And I'm trying to keep that as straight as I possibly can while I'm drilling here. And then I can feel the drill fall into the cavity inside of the mold or the tooling. And then the spot designated by my buddy Operations Manager Tim as the most forgotten lift ring on these EMDs is this spot right here behind and lower to the radiator inlet, the shutters here on the side of the car body. So for this project we are using Cal scale lift rings. You can use the Details West lift rings as well if you can find them. They work just as well, but they tend to be a little bit hard to find, as I referenced in a previous video.
On the 5th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 5 packages of lift rings. I got it! Let me do it! On the 5th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 5 packages of gold lift rings.
You suck.
And by the label here, this looks like these came from Donovan's Hobby and Scuba. So thanks for supplying those, Bill, and we'll get on with putting these on. So I'm going to put a little dab of CA here on a Post-it note to get us started. A little dab is all I need. That's probably about 4 times what I actually need, but you know how that goes. So what we're looking for here on the alignment of these lift rings is essentially when you're looking at the locomotive from the side, you should be able to see through those lift rings, the eyelet on the lift ring itself. So the vast majority of the time, of course, there's going to be exceptions to that rule because there always is, but just kind of a general guideline, that's usually the way you see them. On these Kato dynamic brake hatches, these can be a little tricky because you're actually drilling through 2 layers of tooled plastic here because the dynamic brake blister part, they tooled these as both non-dynamic and dynamic, and this whole piece of plastic sits over another piece of plastic inside of the shell, not like on an Athearn where there's just an empty void underneath the dynamic brake hatch. So we'll try that again. And then we've placed the lift rings on the sides of the radiator section. And now we'll move on to the other detail part. So I guess this is the point where I would advise you to check for photographic evidence on detail placement. So what we're looking for here is this detail, the bell that's mounted on the long hood. This is a Milwaukee specific detail here. We're going to go ahead and place that in the same place on the 6361. And I'm unable to find photographic evidence specifically where that bell is on the 6361, but in pretty good bet that being these were stablemates in the Milwaukee era and in the DM&E era, only a couple of road numbers separate them, that probably that's a good bet to place that bell right there. And for that job, I have a Details West part here, and actually I have two of them in the package, and as luck would have it, I have another locomotive that I'm going to do as well, but that one is orange. So look for a future project on that. Special project coming up that I've been kind of looking forward to. This is BE176, Details West BE176. This is the Milwaukee style bell. Probably other railroads use these as well, but we're going to mount this one up and get it painted on the 6361 here. So I ended up drilling the hole out for the bill with this number 50 bit in my other pin vise here, and I did not end up, the number 68 drill bit was too small by quite a ways, and trying to force that detail part into a too small hole was not a good deal. So I'm inserting the bell into the hole, the mount point, and we're going to let that dry for a little bit before we get started with anything else here on this engine. So now we get started with the artsy-fartsy part of this project, and that's paint color. So you may be asking yourself why I have so many different shades of blue out here on the desktop, and that's to explain to you about what's going on with the DM&E blue. And the answer is that there is no answer. They're literally all over the place on this, and what happened is, I'm guessing I painted this locomotive here, the 6361, back in the day. Probably, I was making use of a lot of Badger paint back then, and I probably sprayed this with Conrail blue. And now then you say, well, this Visitor from the East that I did here a few years ago, that's Conrail blue as well, but that's True Color paint, Conrail blue. And to be honest with you, I have no idea what color paint I sprayed here. This may or may not be Conrail blue from True Color paint. I'm not really sure. I don't know. Anyway, if you really want to know, get yourself a copy of the Winter 1997 Northwestern lines. This has in it an explanation of all the different shades of blue and when they were painted and what shop they were painted in. As I remember, there's about 4 different shades of blue out there. There's a color section in here that shows you all about these things. And here's one of the stablemates here, 6362 and 6384. There is no answer. Anyway, we're just going to fudge it here. I've got some craft paint here that I'm going to try and get as close of a match as possible. I was tempted to use some of that True Color paint on the 6361, but that's going to be far too blue. Like these two engines are, they're a lot darker than the blue that's on here, so I'm just going to have to wing it, and we're going to put a light coat of weathering over the top of this anyway, so heck with it. So I have a confession. I have no idea what I'm doing here. We're going to try and match this DM&E blue, this shade of DM&E blue, to cover up the detail parts that we added, and a little bit of shop wear on this, and we're going to put a light coat of weathering over the top of it. You see here where that Badger paint has worn off the fans, and obviously we need to paint up those parts that we added. So I'm going to mix some of these craft paints here together and see if we can come up with a concoction that sort of matches this blue here. And keeping in mind that your mileage may vary depending on the photograph, the light, the light source, and that you may in fact be color deficient. So we run into that quite a bit here in the hobby, and we fight about paint colors quite a bit, and I often enjoy those spirited discussions, but we spend a lot of time and energy on it. That actually looks to me a lot like Conrail blue just the way it is. So I've got a fairly fine tip brush here that I'm going to try and apply some of this blue with. But again, we're going to apply some weathering over these parts anyway. Roofline parts tend to get extremely dirty extremely quickly. From just looking at the phone screen here, it looks better probably on camera than it does in person, but we're going to roll with it. So I believe I've used these Alpha Precision micro brushes on camera before with the channel here. I've got I think this is an ultra fine and a fine. The yellow is the fine and the white is the ultra fine. We're going to try the yellow one first here and see how it goes. And one thing I'll sometimes do here is I dip the applicator in the paint and then kind of work the excess paint off of the applicator before I actually apply to the model. And we're going to touch up those spots on the radiator fans, shopware, boxware, whatever, in and out of the box, across the pond. This might remind you that this locomotive has been in the possession of a buddy of mine in Australia, Canberra, for a number of years before I got it back here last year, and just now getting around to putting sound and DCC and also these detail parts on. We're likely to come back and hit some of these high spots that we're creating with this new paint, with that weathering, as I said before. I just really wanted to get rid of this unprototypical look of this shopware on these fans and places around here. So I've got taco sauce here, Tamiya panel line accent color, and the way we use this is just touch a little bit of this to a surface that we want to accent, and it really runs in there. I've done these inertial screens and radiator inlets a lot of different ways in the past, but this is by far the quickest and easiest and probably the most convincing way to do it of all the methods I've tried so far. This is really neat, you guys. So we are back at the paint booth out in the garage, and I am going to mix up another bottle of enchilada sauce here. I've got my cheap craft paint here. I've got burnt umber. This is what I normally use in enchilada sauce. And we're going to go probably about 40-60 or so paint to 91% isopropyl alcohol here. So we're going to fire up the airbrush booth here and get started. And that initial spray on my latex glove here determined that we have this mixed way too thick. So I'm going to thin it down to probably about 90-10 alcohol to paint, and we'll see how this works. So again, we're going to get the airbrush booth fired up here. So I'm tidying up here a little bit. I've got some of this craft acrylic paint on a post-it note here, and we're just going to run around here with a micro brush around the edges of this radiator fans section here. So thank you to my friend Brad in Australia for sending this 6361 back to me. I'm going to be glad to have it in my collection, and this process to add the current keeper and the sound and DCC, as well as the detail parts across the roof line here, and the side bell was a fun project. And I'm glad to, once again, very glad to have this in my collection. And DM&E is going to have a fairly small role in the Black Hills and Eastern Railroad's overall operating schema, but just the same, it'll have a role to play, and now we've got engines to pull those trains. So here's where we're going to pull the pin on this particular episode. Hope you liked the content. If you did, smash that like button, subscribe for more, and hopefully we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, everybody.